everyone. My name is Justin Deweese, and I'm the league intern for the Great Lakes Summer Collegiate League. And thank you for joining us with our series where we're looking at alumni from the league that made it to the majors. And today we have Matt Mieske. So Matt, thank you for joining us today.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Played for the Toledo Glass Sox in the Great Lakes League, and then MLB career from 93 to 2000 as an outfielder. 5 years with the Brewers, and then also with the Cubs, Mariners, Astros, and Diamondbacks. Played 663 games, 1,705 plate appearances, with 56 home runs, 226 RBIs, and a 262 batting average. The first question is just a little bit about your background, maybe where you grew up, where you played high school and college ball, and anything about your personal life that you would care to share.
I'm from Michigan. I grew up in a small town called Auburn, about 3,000 people. Went to high school there, and then went to Western Michigan University for 4 years. Played baseball there. I graduated in 1990. During my in between sophomore and junior year, played in the Great Lakes Collegiate League, and then went on to play professionally. After I retired from baseball, I started working as a financial advisor, and I'm a certified financial planner now, and have been doing it for 20 years.
What would you say has been your fondest memory in all of baseball?
A couple of them. I think when I found out that I was drafted for the second time, and then signed my first contract. That was something that I always wanted to do. And then when I was called up for the first time, realized my lifelong dream. That was a big moment. And then as a player, probably the most memorable was getting the game-winning RBIs in the 1998 wild card playoff game.
And that was with Cubs?
I was with the Cubs, and we were playing the Giants.
What was your fondest memory in the Great Lakes League?
I would say getting to know guys from different parts of the country. And we had players from a lot of different colleges, a lot of them from the South. And we would ride around in a RV to the different places for our games, both to and from. Played a lot of cards, learned a lot of new card games that I'd never played before. And baseball was good, but the camaraderie was good because we had quite a mix of characters on that team. So it was a lot of fun.
What part of the Great Lakes League would you say was the most beneficial in helping you reach the majors?
Competition. Competition was very good. I played in the second year, I believe. They started the year previous. So it was the second year in existence. And probably after the first year, maybe they didn't get a lot of players that they might have got later on because it was a new league. And in contrast to the Cape Cod League, which has been around forever. But in the second year, we really picked up a lot of good players because it was a viable alternative. And so that was definitely the thing that helped the most, was to play a full summer against good competition. A lot of good pitchers in that league.
Did you have any funny stories from your time in the Great Lakes League?
One of my teammates, I won't mention his name, but he was a pitcher, starting pitcher, and later in the summer, we were in first place, and he went home for a couple days after one of his starts, and he got in a altercation at a local establishment and broke his hand, his pitching hand, and he came back and 2 days later pitched with a broken bone in his hand, and he had some scars on the back of his hand, and they were bleeding during the game, and he still pitched. So he set the bar pretty high from a toughness standpoint, and we laughed about it because he talked about it all summer, that it's almost like he knew it was going to happen, and he knew when he's going to go home, and he must have been looking for somebody that crossed him in a wrong way, and I think he got his 2 ounces of flesh, and but he didn't let it stop him from pitching. I mean, his hand was swollen, but he still pitched, so it was kind of remarkable. But it was funny just because that's just the way he was, and he lived on the edge, and it didn't affect him. And we didn't really have a lot of extra time to do stuff. The job I had, I worked in the day job, so we played it in the afternoons or night, and I worked in a warehouse for a company that distributed ingredients and material to all the Italian restaurants and pizza places in the Toledo area. So I worked in a warehouse where there was a dry goods area where it was 178 degrees inside, and then a refrigerated area and a frozen area. So we would go back and forth between hot and cold and freezing, hot, cold, and freezing. And it was, I learned that I didn't want to do that the rest of my life. So it was motivation to finish my degree and not have to work in that kind of difficult environment the rest of my life.
Now, from a player's perspective, how would you say that professional baseball differs from collegiate and summer baseball?
Well, there's a lot more games. During the summer, you play a lot, but you don't play every day. And when you start playing professionally, there just isn't any days off. There's very few days off, and you don't get time to heal if something happens. You don't get time to recharge mentally, and it's a grind, and it requires everything that you have as a athlete, everything that you have as a person mentally to get through a season, and it's hard. So the biggest difference is the amount of games, and there's no let up. In summer ball, you won't always face good teams or great teams. You might have days that are a little easier than others, but when you play professionally, there's no let up, and so you don't ever get an easy game on your schedule, and so it's more of a grind. It's more difficult mentally, and the skill level obviously is a little higher, but the biggest thing is adjusting to a longer season with no let up, and there's really no way you can prepare for that. Playing 60 games in the summer does not equate to 160 games in a major league season. It's almost like 3 seasons when you count spring training, and it's just a long time.
Now, our season was canceled this summer, and so there's a lot of players that were going to play in our league but didn't get the chance to. So what advice would you have for current collegiate players, and is there any additional advice that you would add based on the circumstances that these guys are in now?
Well, I think it's important to enjoy what you do, to be passionate about it. And it's also important to play against the best competition that you have available to you. But you have to play. It doesn't do any good to go somewhere and sit. When you're at that age, you have to get repetitions in, you have to get games in. So even if the level that you want to play at isn't available, I'd rather see somebody go to a level just below that and get to play all the time or as much as they need to, instead of sitting and waiting for an opportunity. So you just lose some development if you're not playing every day. So that's important. And with this shutdown this season and everything that's gone on this spring and into the summer, there's nothing you can do about that. Baseball is all about adapting and controlling what you can control, and not to waste energy on things that are out of your control. So you just kind of roll with it and wait for your opportunity whenever that comes up.
That's some great advice. And thank you for joining us, Matt. It's always great to hear from alumni from the league and their path to the majors and the advice they have. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.